When taking a look at this video, keep in mind these bigots are emboldened when they see allies, and their allies are out in force in the Republican Party. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that Jewish space lasers were starting the fires in California. QAnon is anti-Semitic. Originally it was known as the Elder Scrolls of Zion, and it is Nazi propaganda. So take a look at this video.
Hate-filled anti-Semitic flyers appeared yesterday morning in the small beach town of Brigantine, New Jersey. Residents discovering the flyers with Nazi insignias from a group called the Goyim Defense League, blaming COVID, abortion, inflation, all sorts of other issues on a list of Jewish officials in the White House, Department of Justice, the CIA, the State Department, and media companies led by Jewish owners or executives. Similar flyers were found earlier this month on Long Island, just last week in Raleigh, North Carolina, and this summer in Palm Beach and other places across the country. This comes as the Anti-Defamation League says they've seen an extraordinary rise in anti-Semitic attacks in 2021, more than any time in the group's 43-year history. Joining us now is Jonathan Greenblatt, the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. Jonathan, this is so disturbing. Why do you see this rise in anti-Semitism now?
Andrew, this is indeed an incredibly disturbing incident, but unfortunately it's part of this broader pattern. This group, the Goyim Defense League, we've tracked, as we do, more than 250 propaganda incidents across the country where they've left flyers like you showed in that clip, or they've put out signs or stickers specifically targeting the Jewish community. So as you said, this comes on the heels of a record number of anti-Semitic incidents in the country. And this year alone, this group, the GDL, has more than tripled the number of propaganda acts targeting Jews, making them feel incredibly vulnerable all over the United States.
And this is not just happening in Jewish communities.
No, not at all. The goal is to terrorize Jews and the people around them. So in that town, Brigantine, New Jersey, that doesn't have a notable Jewish population per se. But in states across America, we've seen, I think it's something like 17 different states thus far. Big cities, small towns, urban, suburban, rural. These groups are trying to spread fear and terrorize Jews all over the United States.
Tell our larger audience what the word, I think it's a Yiddish term, Goyim means.
Goyim means non-Jews. And this group is sort of a loose affiliation of anti-Semites. Again, they have people all over the country. But what they specialize in is spreading noxious, toxic anti-Semitism. I mean, imagine this for a moment. It's a group that's founded purely on the idea of trying to dehumanize and delegitimize Jewish people. And, you know, again, if you just look at the level of anxiety they're creating, people are very concerned.
And how do they organize? Is it all online messaging?
They organize online, so they use both the private web and the dark web to spread their message and to encourage people to do these kind of flyer drops all over the country. I mean, last year, just to put things in some perspective, we saw more than 4,850 propaganda incidences across the country targeting African Americans, Jews, Asian Americans, etc. But the Goyim Defense League specifically specializes in, again, trying to spread disgusting anti-Semitism. So they're a white supremacist organization with a deeply anti-Semitic agenda.
Now, there's another white supremacist website and its leader who affiliated at one point with the Republican candidate for governor of Pennsylvania, Mastriano, was hired, according to FEC terms, as a consultant, and were steering followers and supporters to Mastriano's website until the Philadelphia Inquirer and others, Rachel Maddow on this network, called him out, and he finally disavowed. This is his campaign against Josh Shapiro, the sitting attorney general, the Democrat.
That's right.
So you're seeing it in elected politics as well.
All over the country. So again, you have this guy, Andrew Torba, who runs a social media service called Gab, which is a cesspool of anti-Semitism and hate. And again, as you pointed out, Doug Mastriano, the Republican nominee for governor of Pennsylvania, has used Gab to get out campaign messages, etc. We have a state senator in Oklahoma who's running for office who Carrie Lake just endorsed, the nominee for governor in Arizona. and he says he won't, quote, bow to the Jews, and it said awful anti-Semitic things. And then you have people running right here in the state of New York, where I'm located, saying disgusting kind of anti-Zionist things coming from the political left. It reminds us that anti-Semitism isn't, if you will, the sole property of any political party. It can happen across the spectrum, and all of it should alarm us.
Well, Jonathan Greenblatt, thank you so much. And the ADO on its website has, alerts as well as logs of a lot that's been happening on the dark web as well as the web. Really, thank you so much for bringing it to our attention.
Andrea.
So we have Republican candidates for office. We have Oklahoma Carrie Lake endorsing another anti-Zionist, anti-Jew, hates them beyond anything. But let's talk about his claim. An ADL article is devoted to only going after Democrats. But what did those Democrats do? Let's take a look at it. Nina Turner suggested billionaires of buying elections is wrong. However, when she points out that a Jewish organization donated a whole bunch of money to an election to sway the election, that was anti-Zionist. Pointing out that AIPAC spent heavily to influence an election, that is anti-Zionist. You know who else the ADL has a problem with? Who was anti-Zionist to them? Rabbi David Misvarsher. Yes, a Jew is anti-Zionist. So the reality is the ADL isn't out to get those that are going after Jews. It's specifically there to go after Democrats, because that entire article not once points out any other things. He came on and talked directly about the Republicans saying bigoted stuff against the Jews. And then he just sleight of hand says, oh yeah, the left is also doing that. So no one really owns this. But someone does own it. It's the Republicans. So anytime any Democrat says anything remotely wrong about this issue, they are massively attacked. If you don't support Israel to the hilt, how dare you go after the Jews? But Israel is not the Jews. The ADL isn't defending Jews. Who they're defending is Israel and their right to have a open air prison, to illegally occupy land that isn't theirs. They invaded another country and they're holding on to it. All this, Israel has a right to defend itself. No one has ever said that they don't have a right to defend themselves. So why are they saying that? To move the conversation until you get to the point that they can't lose that conversation, because no one disagrees with they don't have a right to defend themselves. So they are currently illegally occupying another country. They are murdering civilians. Now, yes, when rockets are fired into Israel indiscriminately, that is wrong. Where those people are getting those rocket components is from the bombs Israel drops on them. Now, if Israel wanted to stop the rocket attacks, they could stop dropping bombs. Now, there is a massive difference in power. And that power is very directly on Israel's side. Israel can de-escalate. They can avoid civilian deaths. But they don't. They're holding these people hostage until they get upset. and fight back, and then they demand that they have a right to defend themselves. If they didn't cause the problem in the first place by murdering innocent civilians for decades, there wouldn't be a need for Israel to defend themselves. Israel's causing the problem, and anyone that dares question them in the media is attacking Jews. That is not the case. And don't let the ADL fool you. This non-government organization was founded to protect Israel. That's who they are. That's probably who they'll always be. And they will always attack Democrats, not Republicans. Because the reality is, those in power in Israel are much more aligned with the Republicans than they are with the Democrats. Because the Democrats don't think you should be able to, murder innocent civilians, hold them in an open air prison. So they attack the left and try to pretend that the anti-Jew hatred is the same for Democrats as it is for Republicans. Where Republicans welcome in the Nazis and the KKK, both say that all Jews should be eliminated, Democrats have criticism of Israel. So, in the media, that is both sides have some anti-Zionism. Yeah, kind of pathetic, isn't it? Alright, now if you like those videos, help me make more. Like, subscribe down below, or you can go to my Patreon page and help support us. Or if you really want to help stop global warming, down below there's a power pipe that could end global warming in the next decade.